Nigel.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Well, welcome to another episode of the BSWTV podcast. Real quick before we get into this, Nigel, I got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
So, in November, there's something going around that's been going around for the last couple of years. No Shave November.
Oh, I was going to say the flu.
No, well, there's that. Hopefully, well, you didn't get your shot, but that's okay. You had an epic mustache, and it's gone.
Oh, yeah. It's gone. You know what? November's over, so the mustache is over with November.
Well, you know, and mustaches equal power, just so you know. Even our guest today has got a mustache, and we'll get into that later, but I'm a little disappointed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But, you know, that's okay. You can grow a mustache in about 30 seconds. But, hey, you know what? It was just, I literally just noticed that. Well, I didn't just notice, but I figured I should probably mention something. But, hey, let's get right into this thing. Let's go ahead and talk about our sponsors real quick, shall we?
Sure, absolutely.
So, of course, Rode microphones. Podcast like a pro and elevate your content with the Rodecaster Pro podcast console, which has just been an awesome little tool here for us at BSW. HDV mixer, video for radio and video for podcast, now with voice-activated camera switching. Another one of those little game changers. Almond Roca candy, good enough for the World War I doughboys. BSW includes Almond Roca candy in every single BSW order that ships from the warehouse. We also have a very special sponsor here that we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Should we run the music too?
Sure.
I guess they got this.
Prestige Worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide.
Why?
They are a big deal. If you've never heard of Prestige Worldwide, Prestige, the first word in entertainment and management, book Prestige Worldwide for your next event today. Yeah, I like Prestige Worldwide.
Yeah, great guys.
Well, and if you'll notice in today's episode, we're doing something a little different, especially when we'll start right with the microphones. Nigel, what are we doing with these microphones?
We are talking into them.
Correct. But why? So we've been known for using all the radio stuff. We've been, the podcast stuff, and this is not a typical setup for a podcaster, but it kind of ties right into what we're talking about today, and what BSW has been doing in the world of voiceover.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the voiceover mics.
But and it's
mics.
And we'll insert some video in here later that we did for a demo. But I'm using the Sennheiser MKH416 condenser shotgun today for my microphone. It's one of the preferred weapons of choice for voiceover artists. And
right.
Nigel, you're using a Rode NTG3,
exactly,
lovely microphone.
Yeah.
This is a mic that, believe it or not, when I talk with a lot of manufacturers who want to do voiceover and talk about their microphones getting into voiceover, and I say, well, shotguns are kind of the way to go. And they look at me like a dog that hears a new sound, and they just kind of turn their heads.
Yeah.
But I mean, just now, us using them here and kind of sound testing them, these are amazing. I can absolutely see why people use these.
Yeah.
For voiceover stuff.
Absolutely.
And, for podcasts too, but at the same time,
these are kind of the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
of mics.
And they sound great, and it's not a lot of people have $1,000 microphone on their podcast setup, but I can see why they would with a microphone like this. But,
yeah.
But Broadcast Supply Worldwide, we've more or less raised our hand to help the voiceover guys out, and we've noticed through some customers of ours, especially a customer. A bit of a celebrity of sorts, Joe Cipriano.
Yeah,
you heard of him?
Yeah, here he is.
You've heard of him, and that's the man right there. So Joe's been a customer of ours for a long time, going way back before me, before you, and he's purchased a lot of his stuff through Broadcast Supply Worldwide, and he said, hey, you guys should really start reaching out to this community, and there's so many people who need help and need equipment, and there's not really a resource. And so Joe's kind of plugged us into this pipeline of customers and this community, this voiceover community. And if you're familiar with Mike West, who does a lot of the BSW videos, he's a voiceover guy too. And these guys need a place to go, and hey, we're a place to go.
Absolutely,
we're a place to go. So let's get right into it. So we're going to introduce our very, very extremely very special guest here. Gerald Griffith, president of Voiceover City LLC and the head of VO Atlanta Voiceover Conference. Nigel, the largest voiceover training and voiceover networking event in the world.
That's pretty amazing. And here he is.
Thank you. Well, good to see you, man. How you been?
I've been great. How about yourself?
Hey, we can't complain. We're vertical, as I would say. It's been a solid C+ today, passing grade.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm probably a B.
Oh.
I'll go with the B+.
Man, I would take that all day long. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk with us and talk about all the stuff that you and I have been up to and sort of the partnership between our two companies. And I've got a little write-up here on Voiceover Atlanta. Do you want me to go into it, or do you want to? I think it would be better coming from you, because I know all about what you do, but I think everybody else needs to know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, so that we don't miss anything, I'll let you do your part, and then I'll come back, fill it all.
Attaboy. Okay, here we go. Do I need music for this, Nigel? I probably should. I like the little
Why
jazz.
not?
Okay, it gives me a little cushion. So Voiceover Atlanta, whether you're a seasoned voice actor or just getting started, Voiceover Atlanta offers something for you, Nigel. Connecting you with quality voiceover training through networking opportunities, voiceover classes, and voiceover workshops that matter to your success. It's not about fluff or quick schemes. You'll learn directly from the voiceover agents, which is true, directors, producers, and what it takes to succeed. With over 50 unique workshops and classes in addition to dozens of panels and discussions on voice acting and industry know-how. Meet and network with hundreds of voice actors, also true, voiceover agents, casting directors, and resource providers that are sure to find something to help you. So from what it appears by reading this, you're kind of the man as far as the community goes and networking with voiceover and just everything that has to do with voiceover.
You know, I think of it more like I'm the glue. You know, I'm the thing I hope helps tie it all together. I certainly am not the expert in voiceover. I'd like to think of myself more of a people person who, through the years and my upbringing and stuff like that, has always put me in places of community and people. And so that's what I really try to build a conference around. And I find what I hope are the best experts in the field of voiceover to bring together so that the attendees can get as much out of it as possible.
Yeah, and we sort of met earlier this year, and we've been doing business, like I said, with Joe Cipriano for many years, and he'd mentioned a couple years ago, you guys need to start checking this out. You guys need to go, and so we walked the show, and then we had a small booth just to kind of see what it was all about, and it was nothing but a positive experience, and it's just getting in to help these customers and these voiceover actors and giving them a resource for equipment to really sort of elevate their game and help them get there. I mean, that's been a great thing for us. And, we're partnering with you guys at Voiceover Atlanta 2020 as your premium exclusive equipment dealer. And we're so happy to be there. We can't wait to do it and get in and really sort of meet with these folks on that sort of level. So can you describe what's the show really about? What do you see as, I'm the first time, comer to the show. What should I expect as a new guy?
Well, what I like to do is I like a lot of analogies to try to make it something that people can relate to. And so one of the things I strive for with the conference is there are a lot of things that we offer there. There are a lot of different program tracks from animation, audio books, gaming, just a lot of different areas. But what I look at it as is putting together an amazing buffet. A buffet of voiceover resources from the networking side to the social side to just getting way into the learning, whether it's a general breakout type sessions or very focused workshops that are offered by some of the best in the business. And one of the things that's unique about VO Atlanta is that you will have access to people, or the attendees have access to resources that you don't normally get access to. even if you went and hung out in LA, you're unlikely to meet these people, and you're definitely unlikely to spend any quality time with them just because they stay busy and the role they play in the industry. So what's unique is that it's like a networking event on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Because you spend so much time around each other. We start on a Thursday, and even the starting time for that has grown a lot. So we have things that are happening in pre-conference, and we have more and more people that come in on Wednesday, and it lasts all the way till Sunday. So you get to have breakfast with these people, lunch with these people, dinner with these people. We do karaoke night. We have other fun activities, because I think that we know we're all about voiceover when we're there, but I also like to make sure there are opportunities for you to just be a person, just have conversation, just have fun, just talk about your family, talk about your kids, talk about anything you can responsibly talk about, without anybody getting too many feathers ruffled. But that's what really sets those relationships apart, because you can talk about voiceover. That's kind of the obvious thing. But I feel like when you go there, try to get to know people a little better than you can by just reading their website, because you can go see the credentials, but it takes more, conversation and things to really get to know them. And so that's one of the things that's really unique about the conferences. Short of you staying in your room the whole time, you will meet people, and you will leave with a lot more connections than you came with.
Well, and yeah, it seems like it's such a community-based thing. I mean, it's just like that in radio as well. It's about the connections you make, the people you meet, and just getting them all in one place, like you said, is absolutely one of the hardest things to do. I mean, Joe is a great example of that. I mean, Joe's in the big leagues, but we when I've met with him and we've hung out and we've done stuff together, I mean, you're right. It often comes back to how's your family? How's everything going? It's not, what was it like being on America's Got Talent? But of course it does go to those places. But so, I mean, I show up as a new guy. Of course, I stop at the BSW booth first because I don't have a microphone, so I need to go there. Yeah. And once we visit them, so I'm looking to get connected into voiceover. So what are some of the clinics and some of the breakout sessions like? What should I expect in those?
Well, we'll have some sessions at the beginning of the 2020 conference, which is March 26th to the 29th of 2020. And those will be specifically designed for people who are either new to the conference or even fairly new to voiceover. And so those will be to help them get acclimated to being there, giving them some networking tips and ideas, just kind of helping them relax, really, because that's probably the hardest thing people have, is that people have traditionally gone to networking events, and those events last for a couple of hours. And so what happens, unfortunately, is if you think there are only 15 to 20 minutes to connect to the key people at that event, there's this mad rush, this cattle call, so to speak, of everyone trying to get in their fraction of a second to, if it's Joe Cipriano, everybody's crowding around and 10 people want to talk to Joe and he's only got 5 minutes.
Yep.
But at VO Atlanta, what's kind of really nice about it is you can relax. You can relax. You'll probably see Joe sitting in the restaurant, go over and say, hey, can I buy you a beer and talk to you for a minute? I got a couple questions. You can see him in the hallway and talk to him. You can see him at lunch and we do open seating at lunch. So you can just go sit down at the table and have lunch with whoever. And I've had people come back and they'll say, you're not going to believe this. I looked up at lunch and I was sitting next to Scott Brick, well-known book narrator. And I was like, you're kidding. Scott Brick was eating?
Nah.
So it really is. And I think people are shocked at how relatable these people they admire and respect so much are when you can just be in an environment where you can take it down a notch. You don't have to talk about voiceover all the time. That's kind of a given, right? So just be a person, be relatable. So when they come, we have ambassadors there to help guide people around, answer any questions they have. We have service stations. So if they have questions or need directions or help, there are people there to help them with that. there's a wide variety of sessions for them to choose from. So one of the nice things about the conference is because there's so many different areas of voiceover, even if you're more experienced, and let's say you've spent all your time in animation, but you've heard a lot about Joe Cipriano, you've heard something about promo, but you've never really learned anything about it. You're not sure. Well, VO Atlanta is a great place for you to simply go sit into some sessions on promo without it being something you've got to go take another special class or fly across the country or something. You can go sit in a session that's taught by someone, at Joe's level or Joe, and really say, oh, you know what? Now I know more about it. And now I can either go further with that or decide maybe, hey, I want to learn something about e-learning. So now you go sit in a session. So it's a great place to explore, even if you're an experienced talent, but it's an amazing place to explore if you're getting started. And because you're learning from people that are in the trenches, doing this day in and day out, learning from casting directors, what they're looking for when they're casting today, not from a YouTube video 15 years ago, but from today. You're learning from agents the do's and don'ts of what you need to be focused on and what they need from you or don't need from you. And you're getting it from the people who do it day in and day out from some major agencies and major places. Some of our presenters even coming up work at places like Disney or Nickelodeon or, so they're very well-known places that these people are coming from. And so it's a great place whether you're getting started or you're already an established talent.
Yeah, because I've noticed, my friend Mike West, who's a voiceover talent, when we shoot product video here or he's in on the podcast, oftentimes we get interrupted with, hey, man, I just got an email. I need to cut like 7 or 8 spots real quick. Can we just knock those out? And so being plugged in and meeting those people and just knowing the right people really does lead to some amazing opportunities. I mean, in Seattle, I'm hard pressed to go anywhere and not hear his radio commercial for Muckleshoot Casino 14,000 times during the day. Yeah. So it's just getting plugged in with the right people is super important, and going back to just the human aspect of just getting able to sit down with someone. I mean, hey, that's how we hooked up at the podcast show. You graciously got me the heck off the floor for half an hour, and it started with, let me buy you a beer, and I could not run to the door quick enough to get out of there. And we sat in the monsoon and had a beer and discussed our future together. So I'm really excited about this show. What are some tips? I mean, obviously you've been in the industry. I mean, if you want to, before we get to the tip part, why don't you give us a little background on you? So how did you get started doing this whole thing? I mean, not a lot of people just wake up one day and go, I'm going to do the biggest voiceover conference ever. Go, but some people do. Maybe you're just that guy.
Well, let me throw one thing out before I answer that part, because you mentioned us hanging out for lunch at the Podcast Movement event back in August, and that few moments that we hung out, I guess it was maybe half hour to an hour or something like that. And because I'm going to make a very important point here about time and conversations. We talked about a lot of different things, but what do you remember most unique about that little time when we were out there having lunch?
We talked about both of our industries. We talked about some of the biggest thing I remember, we talked about our families and traveling and where you went for vacation, where I was planning to take my family on vacation, and we talked about sort of the pitfalls and the peaks of being parents. I mean, I remember that quite a bit. I mean, I had a 6-month-old son at the time, and so I had a lot on my mind going for that. But aside from the business stuff, I just remember us talking about our lives and who we are. I mean, that's what still stands out in my mind.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the things that stands out in my mind is it was the craziest part about the whole time being out there. Not that we kind of got a table.
Oh yeah.
Lady comes over, she says, it's probably going to be raining in a moment, so I don't know if you guys want to move or something. And we're like,
yeah, okay.
And then we're thinking, okay, we'll just move over a little bit. And then the next thing you know, it's like crazy raining, and we're sitting over like in the corner somewhere at our table trying to just not get super drenched, and all these other people have jumped out the pool and everything. But it's that wild little moment, but that was a part of our little lunch experience, right?
The
So we're just
monsoon.
having our beers, and there's a monsoon, and we're still talking like, hey, you know what? We're still going to enjoy our lunch. But it's moments like that that just make things very human, very real, very relatable. And at that point, we weren't talking about gear or sponsors or anything. We were just talking about family and memories at different events, and then here comes the rain, and we're just having a good time, you know, making the most of it. And of course, I forgot my little tote bag over there. And had
Oh,
to
that's
go,
right.
and it was nice and drenched.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's funny because I've mentioned that to a couple folks right after we had that. I'm like, well, at least it's not pouring freaking rain like it was at my last meeting. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Nigel, it is the craziest weather I've seen. I mean, and it was almost to the watch. Remember the waiter's like, you got about 10 minutes. And we go, yeah, okay, whatever. And you could see it coming over, and then it just unleashed. It was unreal.
Yeah. You know, I've never been to Atlanta, so I heard the rain is kind of epic. The heat is epic.
Oh, this was in Orlando.
Orlando.
Oh, yeah. When we were doing
gotcha,
the podcast movement trade show, he was
Gotcha.
there. You know, and that's kind of a neat segue into, you know, because you and I discuss podcasting as well, and you know, that's another avenue. You know, I would think for content creators and for people who, you know, of course, who make their living on their voice, on further promoting and further sort of reaching out to grab more customers and more listeners is doing podcasting. So has that become sort of a central part of what you're doing with Voiceover Atlanta?
Well, it's certainly an area where we're growing and expanding it. We'll be doing our podcast pavilion again, where we're inviting in more and more people who are doing podcasts within the voiceover community to come in and record their podcasts there at the conference. And it's great to see more and more people using it, because one of the things I share with people is that what you do with your voice, you know, is you being a communicator. You're a communicator, and all the training you do is to help you be a better communicator. Voiceover or podcasting or public speaking or singing or acting, all of those are ways you utilize those skills. So I always challenge people, hey, if you're a voice actor, how else can you use your communication skills? Podcasting is one of those. We have a number of people who sing. Like, VO Atlanta has the most amazing karaoke because so many people are talented with their voice. And so people joke that says, oh my God, this is like a scary karaoke because so many people sing well that if you don't, it really, really stands out. But they have a great time with it. And the one thing about it is voiceover is a rather isolating field because people work at home now. You know, a lot of people have home studios. Well, most people have home studios. So when they get together and have fun, it's just an amazing time.
Yeah. When voiceover guys do karaoke, do they just sit there and everybody just tries to go as low as they can, or is it? I can't even imagine.
No, not at all. I think by the time they get to karaoke, they're just relaxed. They're just having a good time. What I've noticed as an observer to a lot of it is by the time you get to lunch on Friday, people have realized that I can relax. Mm-hmm. I can relax. I can enjoy this. And it's really great to see it because you just see people have conversations, you know, and they just have a good time. We have an app and stuff like that, so you can go read all the stuff about the different people. But, you know, and I walk up to a table and people say, man, this is amazing. I haven't laughed this hard in years. Like, to me, that's a highlight. You know, that's a golden moment for me because that's what I want people to remember about being at the conference is, you know, to have and experience something that you can't get on a webinar, that you can't get through Skype or Zoom or whatever it is just that moment you have, you know, like you and I had it at lunch where we just talked and had a good conversation. And that's what I want people to have so that they can build better relationships in the community, that they can establish more trust. I mean, I have so many people who say, oh yeah, I'm working with this person on a project now, or yeah, I got invited into this project, or I got signed to this agency, you know, all because of relationships that they've built or started at VO Atlanta. And so it's a great experience to see that unfold.
Yeah, and you know, BSW, of course, we're there, you providing equipment for you guys, providing equipment to the voiceover guys, and we're in a unique situation where we've been in business since 1973. Mostly helping broadcasters, but we've got deep relationships with these manufacturers, and we can often get things done and developed, and we've for most other dealers can't do. I mean, there's the Rodecaster Pro, for instance. We had our hand in helping shape some of the feature sets that are involved for the podcasters, and currently we're working on some stuff with some companies on voiceover stuff, especially on like the plug-in side, and right. So we're there to learn, we're there to help you guys, and we're there to help customers get what they need to be successful, and we'll have some crazy deals, and we'll have some prizes and stuff to give away, and of course we're there to support the community, and we're there to help you guys out. I mean, we're in it for the long haul, and we really want to be there for everybody. What else should we be discussing here as far as podcasting? I mean, I've seen customers on our side who've jumped into podcasts, especially from terrestrial radio. It seems now that most radio stations and most on-air people, they've got a podcast because it pushes their listeners in terrestrial radio. I've got to think it would do the same for a voiceover guy to really have some sort of a show there to promote himself. And where do you see podcasting morphing in with the voiceover guys?
Well, there are two sides to that. One is I'll say the technical side, which is understanding that you already have all the assets you need to do it. You have a great microphone, most likely. You have an interface. You have computer software. You have some editing ability. You have some knowledge of recording. And most likely you already have some type of treated space where you record. So someone starting podcasts from scratch most likely have to go and figure these things out. So a voice actor will typically already have all of the technical aspects of producing a podcast readily available to them, which is the great part on the technical side. The challenge sometimes is that understanding that when you decide to do a podcast, I find most often people have one or two different lines of thinking when they think I want to do a podcast. One, they think, well, I'm going to start a podcast so I can make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's your domination. We did the same thing when we decided we were going to do the podcast. We had all these grandiose ideas of taking the world by storm, which we do dozens of people at a time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can take the world by storm.
Yeah.
It's just one small storm at a time.
Yeah, one monsoon in Orlando at a time.
Yes. And then the other piece of that is understanding that the podcast is about you, whereas as a voice actor, your production is about your client. And so it's a very different type of mindset because a client will give you a script. This is exactly what I want you to say. But when you're doing a podcast, you are the product. You are the product. Your version of whatever story you're talking about in your podcast is you. And it can be the way you want to tell it, the way you want to sell it, the way you want to share it. It's really your own. I always say podcasting is like you having your own personal radio station that you can decide everything about. And for some people, that scares the daylights out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a crazy story I'll go into after that. But yeah, you are the person. I mean, there's no hiding, especially what we're doing now. I mean, we're on camera. This is all us. I mean, there's no place to go.
Nope.
Absolutely.
I can try and hide behind the mic, but it doesn't really help.
If you had a bigger mic, it would be a little bit better.
Well, this is probably the largest mic we're going to use. I mean, until some new mics come out that are, everybody seems to be getting, there's a mic company that's developing a broadcast, and the thing's huge. I mean, it's probably about this big, but it's probably about like this big around. It's just I don't know. We'll see.
You should send me one of those 416s to test out.
Hey, you got it. You don't have one? Oh, we got to fix that. I know a guy.
I know.
I know a couple.
600. So.
Oh well, we'll fix that in a jiffy. Well, and Nigel's talking on a great mic too, and we'll have our friends at Rode are going to be joining us at Voiceover Atlanta. So I mean they make a pretty darn good shotgun microphone as well. That Joe actually endorsed the NTG3 for a certain price point. Of course, he's got his 416, but the NTG3 is a really solid mic. And Nigel, you sound better in my headphones than I sound in mine. So if you have a little copy there, you can read and you can do our voiceover stuff.
Voiceover.
Well, yeah, we got the man here, so you may as well,
Oh no,
I mean,
nonsense. Come on, just do the in a world thing. That's what everybody's in a world.
in a world.
I
can't do it. I'm not a voiceover kind of a guy because I can barely read. So
it's okay because ironically enough, one of the things people shake their head about a little bit, and then they kind of see why it matters, is I'm not an in the booth talent. I don't evaluate voice actors and things like that. I am a producer of an event that caters to voice actors. And that's the role I play. And initially people say, oh, well, how's somebody doing this? And they're not an in-the-booth person. And then over the years, when they saw what goes into doing this, one of the persons came back and they actually wrote this big blog post and they said, initially I was a little worried. I didn't know where Gerald was coming from with this. But then I realized after going to the event that that's why the event is so amazing, because he's not looking at it as a talent that does an event. He's looking at it as an event planner that plans an event. And trust me, there is a lot that goes into it behind the scenes than people might realize when you think about the number of sponsor relationships you've got to maintain and manage, the number of, presenters, which in our case has grown from around a dozen the first year to close to 70 at this point. And each of those is a unique relationship.
Yeah.
Each are very unique. They talk about different things, then you got the hotel relationship that you got to have. You've got other vendors that support us. This coming year, we've got a second property that we're doing our Audiobook Academy at. So now we've got a shuttle bus service that we've got to manage. So every time you add something, there's something else that goes along with it. And so I tell people really quick, I'm like, listen, I am not a talent in that regard, but I find it fortunate that I can have great relationships with talent. I have great relationships with casting directors, producers, agents. And what I found is they seem to really appreciate the fact that I'm not out to get on their roster. I'm out to position them to share with the industry the things that they wish the industry knew. And so it's a great relationship because, I have a great respect for them and what they offer. And they'll sometimes say, well, what do you want me to talk about? And I'll say, well, you're an agent, right? And I say, yep. I say, okay, I want you to think back over the last 12 months and ask yourself how many times you've said, dag, I wish people would stop blank. I wish people would start learning to blank. I wish I could get more of blank. I wish people would send me less of blank. I said, that's what I want you to talk about. Because I genuinely feel that talent will work hard to try to do what they need to do to be successful. They just need to know what that is. Because otherwise they're out trying to pick up things from YouTube videos, or they're learning from some random person that may or may not know what's current right now. And so when the agents and directors come, and these are some very well-known agencies that they come from, I want the talent to take advantage of knowing directly from the source what they need to be doing to make it to that next level.
Yeah, and that's absolutely great. I mean, I'm really excited for the conference, and I'm sure you've got, like you said, you've got 70 speakers and some influential people there. Do you have any you want to plug that we should be excited about? I know personally, but we got to let everybody else know.
Well, of course, I'll talk about my keynote, which is Rob Paulson. Very well known in the world of animation, and Rob's just a really, really great guy. He was here in Atlanta, had lunch with him. A lot of people know him from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And so
yeah.
We've had amazing keynotes. This past year, we had Kay Bess, who came and just absolutely knocked it out the park. I'm not sure. Were you there for the keynote?
I was not able to make it. I will be there this year, or in 2020. I will absolutely be there. So I plan on stopping by and trying to get some of that stuff in my schedule as well. But I was not there this year.
Okay. So yeah, we have great people. Our casting director is Mary Lynn Wisner, who's a very well respected casting director in the voiceover community. She's been working with me for years now, just helping, things stay on the right track. And that's what I mean about having relationships with industry leaders to where we all play our part, and they're always happy to contribute to the success of the conference because they know that I take those things very seriously and go out and try to make sure we have the absolute best resources possible there from wherever. And we have, on average, the last 5-6 years had at least 20 countries represented there, and over 40 states here in the U.S.
Wow. Yeah, I mean it's amazing that the people, if you've got the right people there and you've got the right collection of experts, it's hard to find that anywhere else in the world. So I mean, we can honestly say that this is the biggest, baddest voiceover conference in the world, Nigel.
Hey, you know what? Absolutely, Hotlanta.
In Hotlanta. I can't wait. And Joe Cipriano is going to be there as well. He'll be in the booth with BSW if he's not a grandfather again, because I guess.
I know, what's with this grandfathering thing?
Yeah, and that's what I said. I was like, you don't have to, really be there, but he's like that. He's the man. So if not, well, I'll get a cardboard cutout of him, and we can. What's funny, Gerald, is that actually happened. So we had planned 2-second story here. We had planned to have a microphone manufacturer come to NAB for to be in our booth, and this sort of quasi celebrity in the music industry was supposed to be there, and 3-4 days before he calls and says, "Hey man, I'm not going to make it." And I said, "Okay, well, what's going on?" He goes, "I had to get surgery on my shoulder. He tore something in his shoulder." And I said, "Okay, well, just show up in the sling, and it's no big deal." He goes, "Oh no, I'm not coming." And I said, "Well, I had you in print. I've been talking about it for 6 months or so, and I've got an actual sign-up list of people that want to come see you." And he said, "Hey, I'll do you a solid some other time, but I'm not going to make it. And of course, I'm not going to make someone who's in horrible pain from surgery show up and stand in a booth somewhere." So I did. I got a cardboard cutout made of him, which we still use often in product videos to tease him. And we had that set up, and people got a laugh out of it. And actually, people took more pictures with the cardboard cutout than they did with him.
Yeah,
the next show. So yeah, so don't threaten me with not showing up, Joe. I will get a cardboard cutout of you.
Well, yeah. Well, Joe's been a great supporter of the conference. His wife Ann comes with him from time to time, and they're just great. And again, it's that whole relationship things. And we've talked outside of the conference and just have great conversations, supporting each other's efforts and encouraging each other in all kinds of aspects of life. And that's when it's really special, is when that your connection with people doesn't end at the end of an XLR cable,
No.
Like,
write that down, Nigel. That is a great line.
That is a good one.
Do you have a copyright on that? If you probably should.
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
No.
I think you should make a shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. If that needs to go on your 2020 shirt.
So, but one of the things, I know I put this in one of the notes with you, and this goes back to, you were talking about the gear and stuff earlier, is, one of the things I've seen is when people are getting started in voice acting or podcasting or whatever it is the temptation to say, well, I'm just going to do this to get by. Mm-hmm. And I certainly understand the cost factor in making the decisions. And I always tell people it should be a factor. It's certainly a factor.
Sure.
But be very careful to not let it be your only factor or the driving factor, because too often you'll look back and you would have spent more energy trying to figure things out, trying to patch things up, than you would have had you just gone ahead and made a slightly larger investment in what you're doing. And there's so many examples of where this happens. If you buy a Mercedes, you can have that Mercedes for 5 years. And guess what? When you go to sell it, you're still going to get a bulk of your money back. Mm-hmm. You save some $1,000s on the other car, and then you realize that if you went back 6 months later, that it's lost 30% of its value. And you're like, what happened? All you did was drive it for 5,000 miles. And so, I think I shared an example with you where I thought I was saving a little money one time when I was getting a video capture device for the conference. There's a part that we live stream. And so I was like, went in, the item I planned to get was $350, I think it was. And I saw this associated item in Amazon, and it was maybe $175.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, let me check this, check the details on it, because I didn't want to just jump at the price. So I looked at the reviews, and people generally said it worked well for them. They didn't have any problems. So I was like, this is great. I can save $150. And so I bought that item. And this was closer to conference time, so I didn't have much time to go through a whole return process or anything. Got it. Could never get the drivers to work. The software wouldn't install. Fooled around with the thing. Got to the venue. Spent some more time fooling around with it. Excuse me. And I'm an IT guy, so
yeah.
Naturally, I'm like, I got to get this to work, right? Never got that thing to work. Ended up trying to patch together some solutions at the end. And the whole piece of streaming that I was going to use that device for just fell apart. I had to issue a bunch of refunds to people who had bought that particular segment of our live stream. And the other people who were looking to sign up, and they were right to say, hey, where's the live stream? I was trying to sign up and I don't see anything. It just all went bust. So based on the prior years and where I anticipated we were going to be that year with doing it, I estimated that saving that $150 cost me about $2,000.
Well, and the quote I remember is, no amount of money ever bought a second of time.
That is so true.
And it's just, and we see it on our side a lot, and that's what, and the other key thing is, buy from BSW, not from Amazon, because they, I always have friends that they'll call me after the fact. Hey man, I just got this thing, and I'm trying to get my podcast set up, and I want to get going. And I go, did you call Amazon to set up your podcast? Because they'll do it for you. He goes, no, they don't do that. And I said, gotcha. Now let's get into it. But and it's just like you said, saving time often looks attractive. If you especially if you can save money and save time, those things rarely go together. But we've got solutions, starting at under $500 that will get you your decent audio, at least audio that that any agent would be able to use. And of course, you spend more, you're going to get more. But there are solutions out there, and depending on the customer's needs and really what they want to do, BSW is able to incorporate product that will fill those needs at almost any level. And we worked really, really hard with Joe, especially in about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I probably sent him 10 microphones, 4 or 5 interfaces. It even got down to the cables we used to hook it up. It's like, Joe, I want your personal go ahead on all this stuff, because if this is a community of people that I can't give them the wrong thing. I don't want to give them a microphone that just they go, you know what, I didn't get that gig because that piece of crap you sold me, or I lost the live stream because of the piece of gear that I got. It's just like those things just make me cringe, and that's one of the reasons I got into doing what we're doing is to help people and to be successful. And I'm really happy that we've been able to partner with you guys, and that we can bring to the table what we can do. And and I'm just really excited to be at the show and sit in a monsoon and have a beer with you.
Well, I promise you won't be in monsoon inside. So I hope there's not. But no, I appreciate you guys being there. And the quote I kind of shared with you before about what you pay for something and what it costs is not the same thing.
Yep.
It's just not.
and we'll do our best to show everybody that.
No, I think that's important because people do have a lot of questions. And I remember when I first started a lot of this stuff, you asked me earlier about how I got going with all of this. I started a meetup. I took some voiceover classes because I'd always been kind of in the communication space. Mm-hmm. I started off doing a lot of speeches and things as a kid, and I've done various things in the public speaking space coming up. And so my official training is more into technology, so I spent some time there as well, and just went and started to learn about voiceover. Started a small meetup group in the Atlanta area back in 2011. It was with the goal of getting 20 people together. That was my goal. If I could get 20 people, and then I could learn ins and outs of the Atlanta voiceover market. And so within 6 months, the group was about 60 people. No, actually, 6 months, it was 100 people.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In there. And we were doing meetups regularly. And then people in the group were saying, well, hey, look, it's enough of us. Maybe you can set up a class. And so I made some phone calls, set up some classes. And then within the next 6 months, I was probably spending more time on the phone coordinating some type of training, some type of class. And then it just got to a point, it was like, listen, you need to make a decision if you're going to focus on connecting people and coordinating things, or if you're going to focus on trying to be in the booth, building up your own thing. And so since I had a background more in dealing with people and connecting things, I just decided to stay on that side of the track. And then the conference idea came along, and even there it was like, we're going to have something in the Southeast United States. And I had a big map on the wall. I had this big circle. And I figured if I could get anybody to just come from within this circle, that'd be great. And it covered Florida. It went from Georgia as far west as like middle of Texas, and as far north as Virginia. And that was my whole area, was the Southeast. And then it just kind of grew from there. So the first year we had about 125 people at the conference. And this past year we had over 800, close to 900 people there. So it's grown a little bit,
Just a little. That's that's quite a few. That's quite a few voiceover people in one room. I wonder if that's illegal.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we have at least 2 rooms at this point.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say, it's like when you get that many broadcasters together, it's never a good thing.
Well, it's funny, you get them all together in the same room and everything sounds like an announcement.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I just, to be a fly on the wall for that, and just, it's just, it's, I always thought, to get into the voiceover conference, you have to read copy. And when you get to the door, and it's, we weed out all of the fakers right at the front. It's like,
yeah, it is so different than people might think it is. Just from the people aspect of it, and it's really a great thing. And you were mentioning about coming by your booth and different things, and we were talking about investing and stuff like that. The same goes to just being at the conference. We do have people that say, well, it's expensive, or it's this or it's that, and I said, well, it depends on how you evaluate that. Are you looking to make an investment in your effort to be successful in voiceover? Don't you want to know from the people who make these decisions what you need to be working on? Don't you want to have an opportunity to go in one of our talent screenings and have someone listen to you and give you direct feedback on maybe things you can improve? Don't you want a chance to learn from people who've been successful and actually get to know them a little bit, get some input, maybe discover things you're doing well and things you can do better? Or, yeah, sure, you could save the money and stay home and watch a YouTube video or sign up for another webinar. It's great. Let me know how many people you meet over that.
Right. The University of YouTube will get you through it.
I know. And look, there's nothing wrong with those resources. They're just very, very different.
Well, they're limited too, I would think.
Yeah, and I would never think of it's like, oh, man, I need to get a voiceover gig. I wonder what YouTube's got from how to get voiceover.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting. But one thing I did see a lot, and this kind of plays in your favor, I guess, with the equipment piece, is that we talk to people, they're new to voiceover, and they'll say, well, I can't afford to go to a conference. I'm just getting started. I'm like, okay, I understand. And talk to them a month or two later, and they're like, hey, can you help me with this thing? I'm trying to set up something. I was like, oh, so what'd you get? And then in the course of conversation, you realize that they've gone and spent $700 at Guitar Center somewhere, buying some stuff that they have no idea how to use, no idea how to set up, no idea how to record, no idea how to edit, but yet taking the training was too expensive for them, but yet they found a way to buy the gear.
We call that the ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
which we try to help avoid. But, I think with our partnership together and some of the things that we'll be doing at the show, which we Won't reveal all today because we got to keep some things behind the curtain, but it's definitely a show if you need to go to. If you're doing voiceover, you're involved, you're a beginner, you're a professional, this is the place to be. And we're going to make sure that we're there and that we're going to support you and do everything we need to do to help the community. And I can't wait to go. Actually, I'm pretty excited to do it, and I'll get you a 416 here as soon as we can.
Yeah, and everybody's welcome. There's one caveat, and this always seems weird for me to say this, because I do have people who say, well, I've never taken any training or done anything voiceover related. Should I be there? And one of the things I do say is, if you've never taken anything, you are absolutely as green can be. I do try to encourage them to at least take an intro to voiceover or something, maybe in their community or somewhere prior to coming. Not because I don't want them to come or want to discourage them or anything, but when you come, there's just so many things going on that if you have no idea what a microphone is, you have no idea what a cable is, you have no idea what software is, it's going to put you at a disadvantage that may be very difficult for you to overcome.
Sure.
And so I'd rather a person skip a year and take a couple basic classes before coming so that they can appreciate coming up to BSW and knowing what they're looking at, or they can appreciate sitting in Joseph's breakout session and knowing what promo is, versus walking away. It'd be like you selling somebody something way beyond their grasp, just because you could make the sale, just because they had the money to buy it, right? And then they come back and they say, well, yeah, they sold me all this stuff, but I didn't know how to use none of that. So they give you bad ratings. They give you bad reviews, not because the gear wasn't great and amazing gear, but because they were totally incapable of appreciating what they had.
Yeah.
And so it'd be better for you to start them maybe with that $500 package and allow them to have some money left over for their training and education and gaining experience than for you to sell them the $2,000 package to say, I don't know what the big deal is with this 416 thing. It sounds horrible, but they have no idea how to use it, right?
Yeah, it's easy to make any microphone sound bad. You can, if you give it to especially anyone who doesn't understand how to do that. They're talking into it like this, and they go, "Wow, this thing sounds like garbage." You hear that, Nigel?
No.
I'm talking into the side. Isn't this how you do it? Is this wrong?
It looks like it's wrong.
Looks wrong? Okay, well, if I just go over, there we go. Well, hopefully there's none of those folks, but I totally get it. And, in BSW, we're here for that. So, I mean, if you're thinking about getting into voiceover or the conference, you can certainly get in touch with BSW, shoot us an email, shoot us a call. I'll go ahead and plug all your stuff here towards the end there, Gerald, but I've got everything for you. I mean, you're a resource. We're a resource. Please utilize us. That's what we're here for.
And we're going to build it up even more. So, if people have questions, I encourage them, make sure you go by the BSW booth, ask your questions. You guys know how to reach me. You're in the Facebook group or something. If you're attending, you can drop your questions in there. Brian, I don't know if you're already in our Facebook group or not, but I'll invite you there so that if people have questions, we can invite them to ask them there and you can address them or talk about them and things like that, because it's about that ongoing thing, not just what happens at the conference. It's an ongoing relationship. It's an ongoing opportunity for them to get the things they need to grow and sustain their business, whether it's the podcasting or whether it's the voiceover. And I think that's an area where you'll even be able to help some people, because they may have a bunch of gear that they're using for voiceover, but they're not sure that it's the best gear for their delving into podcasting. So they can come over and ask about those things. And I'm sure you have some options that you can share with them as far as maybe how to better leverage what they already have. Maybe they only need to switch out one thing or something like that. And that's where having those conversations comes in really, really handy.
Absolutely. And a smarter man than myself once said, the relationship doesn't end at the end of the XLR cable. So did I screw it up? Was that not right?
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and this has been great. I can't wait for the conference, and like I said at the end of the show here, I've got all the info, and we'll go ahead and post it on the video as well, and you'll see it down below in the copy and in the links and stuff. And Mr. Griffith, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll see you in Atlanta, my friend.
Absolutely, and we'll talk before then. And everybody that's watching, hey, we hope to see you there. It's a great time, great experience to connect with the community. And so get your gear at BSW at the conference, though.
Yes, yeah, at the conference. Especially if you want the crazy deals, I'm definitely going to make it worth it while to attend the conference. So, yeah, we'll see you there. And thanks for coming on, man. Have a great one.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Look forward to it.
Yep. See you. Have a good one. Bye.
You too.
There we go, Mr. Nigel.
There we go.
Man,
Yeah,
so much to digest in that.
a lot. That's why it's recorded.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I can go back and review it. But yeah, I mean, the conference is going to be a blast. I can't wait to check it out. But, especially, with our relationship with Joe and now with Gerald, and, if you're looking to get into voiceover, we're going to have some resources for you, whether it's at the conference, whether it's going to be, online, or, maybe we might even be doing some videos and some stuff like that too. So we'll have some stuff for you.
Absolutely. And to be fair, we've always had stuff for them.
Well, right. But, voiceover is it's a new thing for us. And, we want to make sure that, we're doing the right stuff and kind of get everything going. But at the same time here, let's hang on.
Hanging.
You're hanging.
Mm-hmm.
I just see this thing is failing here. Okay, there we go. Well, Nigel, I think we have to discuss, of course, one of my favorite segments in our show. What went wrong?
For today?
Well, we can talk about today too, but I've got more stuff on what went wrong in the last couple shows. But let's talk about today.
Sure, you might as well, because, it's in the moment right now.
Yeah, so we're fighting with Skype. Of course, whatever network issues we were having, and of course, so the video froze multiple times during the interview, and it happened so much that we just kind of left it.
Yeah. We made it a phone call instead of a Skype.
I saw that you changed the text halfway through, and I go,
yeah,
that was smart, but at the same time, it's not exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, it's never, we work very hard on these types of shows, on this show, and to get everything right for you, the viewers. And when things don't go right,
yeah,
it just makes us bummed out.
I know, and it's just one of those,
Yeah.
But so that's one thing. So we'll have to work that out offline and figure out how we're going to get that fixed. But so that's the first. I'm sure that everybody's got woes on Skype, and so we're doing ours. But in the last couple of shows, we've had some sensitive, not safe for work content make it to the show, which we then had to edit out.
Yes.
So that's been another problem. So we had a manufacturer on that spoke about something that was something that wasn't out yet, that wasn't a real product, and so we had to yank that off of there.
Yeah.
There was another manufacturer that had a feature set that was pulled that they couldn't talk about, so we had to pull that out. But you just got to be on your toes, man.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, and the show must go on.
Yeah. And we don't, when we have a guest on, when we're in the moment, things, words start flowing, and it's like, oh yeah, we also have this, and this, and it's like, oh no, can we cut that?
And let's not forget, and this seems to happen during Jamie's beer moment. When we overshare.
Oh, absolutely.
Or undershare, either way. But there was definitely some oversharing. But and of course now the different microphones, different behaviors. That was the other thing I had. Since we have so many different broadcast and podcast mics that we utilize here at BSW for the show, and manufacturers always want us to use their stuff when we're interviewing them. Imagine that. Microphones react differently, and when you get people who aren't used to those microphones, you run into issues.
Yeah. I would say they're not necessarily issues. They're something to keep in mind when you're changing microphones,
Well, like these in particular, I don't have to be right up on it. These work great, but I'll tell you, if I move over like this, there's not much going on. Or if I'm kind of cavalier about it, I'm going to chill. I don't feel like talking anymore. But, there's just different things you got to be ready for, and especially with manufacturer guests or special guests who just aren't used to talking onto a microphone. And they talk like this, and they talk really loud and move back, or there's just so many different things there. But of course, at the same time too, we've had some fans email us and send us some notes, and keeping up with a couple of them. There's some birthday shout outs we should probably get to before the end of the show here. So we want to go ahead and get to that. So of course, it's your birthday. So we've had a couple people, get a hold of us and send us some notes. And now as I'm looking at this, I'm not so sure it's legitimate.
Yeah. Mr. Samsung?
That's a real guy.
Sure, probably.
And and Huge Jassel, that's a guy. Chris P. I see what happened here.
Yeah, well, there you have it, folks. The birthdays.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But at the same time too, this has just been a day. It's been a great one, and we want to thank everybody for listening and checking us out. Be sure to check out BSW at Voiceover Atlanta, March 26th, 29th, and 2020. Check out. You can visit that at voatlanta.me, and also for more information. You can go to bswusa.com. We've got some great voiceover packages there. We're going to be doing special deals. We'll be doing special discounts. Like I said, Joe Cipriano, if you weren't watching her in the show, Nigel's got a little thing for that. Joe Cipriano, who's an industry voice legend, he's going to be in our booth at the show as well. So if you want to get some information from him on what it takes to be living on air, his book, also a great read, by the way. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're there for you, and also visit bswusa.com for all your equipment needs.
Yes.
And Nigel, is there anything else?
Yeah, the credits.
Okay, let's do it.
Here they come.
Bye-bye.
So what does it mean for a voice actor to refresh? Redoing our demos, revamping a website, perhaps developing a brand or a slogan, cultivating our LinkedIn page, or learning how to use social media to our benefit. And these are all worthy of pursuit, and you're going to find a lot of expert help this weekend to do just these things. But you don't need me to tell you that.
Joined with POs from all around 20 countries.
Yes.
20 countries around. And then we are very, very excited.
Tell us how you plan on refreshing this weekend.
How I plan on refreshing this weekend? Well, first and foremost, by reconnecting with some friends that I only get to see once a year.
Make sure that I take care of myself, my health, but also take care of the people around me. If they need help, I'm here to help.
1, get better at my craft. 2, figure out how the industry works. 3, network.
So this is my hope for you. That you will find the best of friends among your peers. That you will love them through every good thing and every difficult thing, and that you will let them love you back in kind. That here at this big voiceover event, where maybe you find yourself feeling unworthy or intimidated amongst some of your heroes, that you will trust and be brave enough to say, here I am, this is me. And most of all, I hope that you will turn around and embrace that version of yourself before you knew fear and judgment, the version of you with the boundless imagination, who is the freest of spirits, the genuine article that is you. That's who you're here to refresh. Trust and be brave.
Voiceover Atlanta 2019 is more than just a conference. Sure, you can learn something new about your craft, connect with professionals in the field, and challenge yourself to do more. But beneath the surface lies something deeper. It's a joy. A joy that's always expressing itself here, ever reminding us that while much of work is done in isolation, we should never feel alone. And this alone can do wonders if we let it in.